The Hail Varsity Radio Saturday Morning Show, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Strap yourselves in. Here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt.
Y'all don't even know he was a virgin until he's 28, and now, roll tide.
And Mark Kraynak.
Time has come for someone to put his foot down. And that foot is me.
Yeah, I've liked what I've seen. We got a long way to go. We got work to do, but there's no doubt there's been progress. And especially some of the areas I think that we didn't perform real well last year, some of the things that got us beat last year have really improved. It's been a real emphasis put on making sure we don't turn the ball over on one side and trying to get it back on the other. I think special teams has made a big jump. I think we're a more physical team up front on both sides. I think the offensive line has made some giant strides. So I'm really pleased. It's been a good back and forth all spring between the offense and defense, and I've seen a bunch of improvement on both sides.
That is Scott Frost. Welcome to it, Weekend Edition, Hail Varsity Radio. We are in the Railyard, Spring Game 2021. Chris Schmidt, Mark Kraynak, Damon Barr with a half a handle of rum in him back at the ESPN Lincoln Studios. We are loaded up, sunshine. People are in line for beer. We invite you down to the Railyard. We invite you down to soak up normalcy with your beloved Husker football team. To my right, Mark Kraynak. And Kraynak, it is good to see you in person. You're still rocking the Corn Adidas gear.
Thank you.
I love it.
You as well, sir.
You got a cup of coffee going somewhere.
Right.
My red beer is floating around. We are back by the wall, right? And we are in the shade. We are back by the wall. We are near the various beer windows. Friends from 96 Kicks and KFRX are going to be bumping tunes for you as we get you ready. We are here till noon, and we'll check in with Greg Smith, recruiting insider, Hail Varsity, here in about 30 minutes, a little less than 30 minutes. And the Iron Horse, Gary Sharp, will join us on site at 11:30. So if you're making your way down here to the Railyard, or you're going to find your way to Memorial Stadium, swing on by, say hi to us, and just kind of nod your head and say, hey, football is here. 40,000, your closest friends will be in the stadium. Gorgeous weather today, a bit breezy.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're going to just smile about what we're getting today, football, fans, and sunshine.
Not only that, but nearby the Railyard in the Haymarket is I think it's the first weekend of the farmers market, if I'm not mistaken, or some sort of market.
Yeah, you got the trifecta going in Lincoln. You've got the farmers market that opened up. Kind of
that
down
place
there.
is packed.
Yeah, it is. And then you have the Railyard and the spring game this weekend. And, of course, you got the Lincoln Marathon, which you and I will not be participating in tomorrow.
No, that's I am never going to participate more.
And I love marathoners. You're the best people, but that's just not us.
Yeah, how about y'all just drive? It's a lot faster. Take it easy on your knees. Y'all are crazy.
I know Vic in Denver is going to be here. So, Elijah, you can nod your head if we're getting blown out musically here. But I think we're okay.
I mean, yeah, I think we're probably okay, but 96 Kicks is definitely bringing the DJ funk today. That's happening.
What kind of funk are we going to see first half, second half here? I'm excited to see some of the second and third team guys do their thing. The backup quarterback's on our mind, obviously. Wins does still suck in Nebraska, and you're going to have the running backs that someone needs to emerge. A lot of storylines, and a lot of players we're interested in watching and seeing, but the point is we get to do it in person.
Well, and here's the thing, though. I feel pretty bad for, there will be a handful, maybe 20%, 30% of fans that just bought tickets to the spring game, but haven't been reading up on what the format is going to be like, right? And these are the people that are also fairly upset with the direction of the program, most likely. And so they're going to show up to the stadium today, and in the first half, there's going to be literally no tackling, and that will be news to 20 to 25% of these folks. So they're going to watch and be like, okay, hold on a second. So are they literally not tackling? They're literally not.
They're going to tag off.
What is going on?
Hey, you know what happened to Thomas Fidone? Non-contact injury, but it sucked. Great spring for him. He's a guy that you were going to maybe see worked in Now you're not. Non-contact injuries happen in football.
This program doesn't even tackle.
You're going to try and prevent that in the first half. Guys that you're not going to be counting on will smack the hell out of one another in the second half. It'll be okay.
Yeah, but there were like 40-some guys that went down with some sort of...
It was that physical.
That was promising to me. That's good. That's either guys can't take hits or...
They're learning how to take hits.
Yeah, or they hit each other a lot in the spring, which is a promising sign. You know what I was thinking about? Look, we have reached the point where, I mean, literally, this is the response you see on social media from people more so than ever before. Like, no matter what Nebraska posts or talks about, there's always somebody pretty quick that's like, shut up and win a game.
Yes.
Stop with the BS and win a game. But now, those people are extreme, but we have reached that point in the tenure. Sort of like shut up and win a game. Like, we just have. And I was thinking about how...
Jay Moore said it best. Don't care about the labor pain, show me the baby.
I mean, well...
Show me the baby.
I can understand that. But I was thinking back to, like, just exactly what is Scott Frost and his staff, what are they trying to resurrect? What are they trying to build?
What are they trying to fix?
Well, and look, and this is not at all to excuse anything, but when you look at, and this is where it really hit me, they played the 2001 Notre Dame game very recently.
Yeah,
on
BTN.
Right? The thing that struck me the most, and that was not one of Nebraska's better teams, but they did make it to a national championship game. The thing that struck me the most watching that is just how insanely physical literally every player on that team was. Like, you had to create collisions. That was just part of ticket for entry. That was not negotiable. Everybody on that team, doesn't mean Nebraska was the best, but damn, they would hit you.
They found a way.
Freaking play. Like, literally every play, there were very violent collisions. And that was, I think, of anything else, there was that plus, like, precision. Those were, like, the two hallmarks of the quote-unquote culture, right? Frost knows that. He knows that that's, like, sort of the hallmark of the 90s and even the 80s, just, like, precision and relentless, ridiculous physicality. Like, to the point where it's maybe not even healthy, but that's okay when it comes to football.
That's why you have 180 guys on the roster.
So he knows that's what it has to look like, or he thinks that's what it has to look like. And honestly, after 20 years of trying a bunch of other things, I don't see any other way. I think Bo brought it back to a degree.
I thought Bo was physical. I thought they were physical.
He brought it back to a degree, but he didn't have the depth to go with it. Right? I mean, at the end of the day, he just didn't have the depth to go with it, so you lost a frontline guy, and it didn't work. All of a sudden, Cam Meredith is playing nose tackle. But it really did strike me. And that wasn't just that's how all football was played in that era. No, it wasn't. That's how Nebraska played football in that era. And that's what they're trying to restore, and to think about all the things that have to go into place to make that happen. That's why he got 6 years.
Well, and he should. And, you have this gray area between Bill Moose and Scott Frost being on the same page about 8-9 wins, kind of the expectations discussion point, and then Judge Scott Frost after year 5. Well, you're going into year 4 right now, and it's been a brick-and-mortar approach with that physicality. You bring Zach Duvall in. What have you noticed and what have you liked best about Nebraska football through 3 years? And whether you've lost close games or you've not stepped up and won a big game, there's a lot of things that haven't happened. What has happened that takes some of the longest time to happen is that physicality when it comes to strength and weight room.
Right.
And I know Ohio State hung half 100. Guess what? They didn't run all over you. You're better on the lines of scrimmage. You're better against Iowa. When you get to play Wisconsin, you've been better physically up front. And that is step one, is being a physical football team. And you're seeing that doubled down on here by a physical spring practice. Who knows where the NCAA is going to go when it comes to actual tackling and hitting during the week, which could make for an interesting Saturday if it's still tackle football for wins and bowl berths. But no, Nebraska, the first thing you had to fix was the physicality. and then the depth and on the lines of scrimmage. They're working on that. You've got some guys.
Yep.
Nebraska does not get pushed around anymore, which is great. Now you need to stack on that
precision,
and that comes down to penalties. That comes down to
precision.
The ability to focus and not flinch.
Right.
And it's now 3rd and 15 instead of 3rd and 10.
I mean, it sounds cheesy, but there was a certain level of craftsmanship that existed on those older teams, which, again, I believe it's not about going back to the 90s scheme-wise. It's about going back to the mentality, going back to the approach, going back to the craftsmanship, the precision, those sorts of things.
You're getting 6,000 reps by the time you start.
Because, look, he believes, like I think most of us believe, Nebraska, to compete nationally, one, you have to have a lot of things go your way, but two, bare minimum, you're a developmental program. That's what you are. You are not going to have 8 first-rounders on your roster.
You can,
like
build,
Alabama.
you can build up to 8 draft picks, but
yeah, you're not. That's not happening here. So the way to win is to be more physical, bigger and stronger, more precise, basically relentless, whistle to whistle. And sometimes that's not good enough, and sometimes you lose, but damn it gives you a chance every time.
You'll feel it.
Right?
The opponent will feel it in the morning.
Now, here's the other thing that really struck me that I kind of can't believe we haven't even talked about yet, or before, with Wan'Dale Robinson's departure. Do you remember his recruiting story? The recruiting story was essentially that Nebraska had a really good chance, and then Frost and Wan'Dale's, I don't know if you call him his handlers, his family.
Trainer. Dad and trainer.
There was some sort of falling out there where it didn't quite go well, and there was a little bit of a falling out, and the reports were that Frost sort of blew it, right? And he actually caught some guff for that. Like, he sort of blew it with Wan'Dale, and it wasn't going to happen. But there was something about it that Frost he wasn't good with, and he just sort of was like cut bait. Well, then Troy Walters and the rest, and we can talk to Greg Smith about this in a little bit here just to see if I'm getting this exactly right, but I'm pretty sure it's close. So then Troy Walters and all them, over the course of months, get back in with him, and they more or less have to convince Coach Frost to get back into the picture when his better judgment was telling him, don't do it. His better judgment was telling him, it's not a good fit. It's not worth this. The kid's a talent, absolutely, but it's not a good fit. It's just, there was something about it Frost was not comfortable with early in the process. He's a young head coach, somewhat impressionable probably, feeling the pressure to acquire as much talent as possible. Gets basically convinced to give it another run. Wan'Dale comes here.
Does well.
Does okay, right? By the way, let's kind of slow that. Like, he did okay. He didn't, like, name me.
He wasn't Rondale Moore.
No, not even close. He was a very good player, but you just kind of.
It got featured and highlighted, and it's still, and this isn't on him, but the offense still wasn't to a point where they're scoring 35 or 40 a game.
So, but here's Frost, who his first instinct was this is not a good fit, and lo and behold, look what happens a few years later. Not only does Robinson leave, but then what does that do then also to, like, Nebraska's reputation, recruiting momentum, fan angst, all the things that come with it?
What's it do to the locker room?
Just one guy's decision. And so you're thinking about, look, what Frost or any head coach in Nebraska has to do is difficult. I think more difficult than most places. You have to consider a lot more than most places. You got fans that follow the place to a really incessant degree. You got recruiting challenges. Obviously, you're in a monster conference. So you got a lot stacked up against you. And I think there's a learning curve. And I think that moment, and you heard Frost talk about it this year after all the Florida guys departed. He's like, we need to focus on guys that want to be at. You can tell he was sort of like, it maybe took him a little bit to understand that more than anything might be the key factor in recruiting, right? That, like, doing your due diligence to make damn sure that it's somebody that wants to be here versus somebody that, they'll come here and try it out.
Right. You got to talk them into it. And let's just kind of go down the list of gambles. Wandale, McCaffrey, Bell, Moe. Is the last gamble Omar? Because that's a guy that the world wants. Can he get there Monday through Friday? Likes the camera, likes the attention, will love the energy today, and is a freakish talent. He's going to be incredible in this offense if he gets to play in this offense. And I'm not saying he won't, but you need the day-to-day consistency to all of what you said here, not only about Nebraska's going to be physical, Nebraska needs to be detailed, Nebraska needs to not commit a ton of penalties, but now what is your more finite recruiting pitch to these kids, and what is your development plan? Because to your point, Nebraska's going to be and needs to be a developmental program first.
Period.
And then you sprinkle in some wow factor around. You look at Lance Leipold, he's down in Kansas now. That's a huge hire for Kansas.
That's a huge thing for Coach Frost's future.
For the Buffalo game. It's a huge thing to not have him on the sideline anymore. With that Buffalo game and that Buffalo team.
Well, you have you're starting off with 2 new head coaches on your schedule. Brett Bielema taking over at Illinois. That's the opener. His first year in the program.
We're there for that one, by the way.
Yeah,
we're going to Illinois. We're going to kidnap you, too.
I wouldn't mind going. We were supposed to be in Ireland for that one.
Yeah. We traded champagne.
Still a chance that's going to happen with Northwestern in 2022.
I hope.
And if that happens, we are definitely going on the road there. And we're going to bring tamales to Ireland because it just makes sense, people. Okay. It just makes sense. But they don't have them there, and they don't even know they need them. So I think the thing that Frost is up against, I think they are tectonic type shifts. I don't think they're, hey, are you going to line up in shotgun? Hey, are you going to run a 4-3 or a 3-4? I'm talking about tectonic, deeply entrenched, deeply embedded stuff is what he's up against. And any misstep that he made along the way, he is paid for.
Sure.
And that's why you give him 6 years. At the time, it made total sense. Has he had his pitfalls? Is he 100% the guy no matter what? I don't freaking know. I'm not saying if he is.
He's got to get his time to show that he isn't. And I think right now it's been a journey to get there. And the patience thing is always an issue, and it's been an ongoing issue. When you look at the coaching changes in Lincoln the last several years, over the past 20 years post-Solich. So, I'm excited to see where the progress is, the development that needs to happen with the young quarterbacks. They need to sort out the running back room. But above all, what kind of smashing goes on in this second half with the next step. You're going to take care of your starters on the offensive and defensive line because of no hitting.
Right.
But second, third, fourth, fifth team guys going to get after it and have a physical spring game within reason. That it's been the right approach and a smart approach and a seasoned approach by a young head coach with how he's gone this spring session. That is Mark Kraynak. I'm Chris Schmidt. We're down here. Hail Varsity Weekend. The Railyard is filling up. You're invited down to say hi. Vic from Colorado's here. He's listening, and he brought some sort of bottle for us wrapped in red. Ooh. God bless him. We will open this during the break.
Bear Creek, maybe?
It might be. It might be a little whiskey. We're going to do a quick timeout. We'll run down and get the recruiting profile. A busy May day for Nebraska for the unofficial visits. And recruiting insider Greg Smith is next to Hail Varsity Weekend. Special time, 10 to noon today in front of the spring game. And we're presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Now back with Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery with Chris Schmidt and Mark Kraynak.
Back with you at Hail Varsity Radio. We're on the wall side of the Railyard here. The kickoff party going on with our friends at 96 Kicks, KFRX, ESPN, Lincoln, Chris Schmidt, Mark Kraynak. Damon Barr and Kraynak, he got a little lefty, little snake stabler going there with Junior.
That's right. He is a lefty. Natural. Bats left, throws left, rights left.
Can he gap it like Daddy used to on the diamond.
He can go. He goes with the pitch already at an early age.
Well, that's the way to do it. That's the way to help the old batting average.
He also calls balls and strikes while he plays in case the ump doesn't know. He's like, ball!
Umpires love that.
Yeah.
They love the second opinion here.
And you never guess it, but he never actually calls the strike. It's always
no, that was off the corner.
It's a ball.
That was off the corner.
Yeah.
Husker baseball looks to bounce back later today. Rutgers got offensively crazy last night against Nebraska. We will check in with the Iron Horse, Gary Sharp, on some Husker baseball and spring football in a bit. We welcome in Recruiting Insider. We say hi to Greg Smith from HailVarsity.com and magazine. And what a busy day for Coach Frost and company, even though they can't say hi because it's an unofficial visit session. But Greg, a slew of guys are here. How are you this morning?
I am very well. Yeah, I call it a very unofficial visit weekend. They can't even wave at guys that are here this weekend. So, but I am very well excited for the day.
Hold on. All right, there we go.
So, Greg, explain that to the uninitiated here. So, like, there are going to be players here, but because of the dead period, the quiet period, what can Nebraska's staff do and not do?
All right, so essentially we are still in a dead period for recruiting. We have been in this dead period since, last March, over a year ago. And so we are still under those rules until June. The thing that changed is that restrictions loosened up to allow fans to be able to attend things like the spring game. And so because of that, there's, I guess, technically a loophole where recruits can come on their own if they pay for a ticket the same way that any fan that's out there in the Railyard with you guys right now would do. They can do that. The catch on that is that recruits cannot have any contact whatsoever with Nebraska's coaching staff today, nor can they go do private tours of the facilities, the football facilities and all of that. They basically can come, sit in the stands, watch the game. I'll talk to them afterwards and see what they thought, all on HailVarsity.com.
Wow. Well, it's better than nothing. And, hey, they're going to get to see a red with 40,000 Nebraska fans ready to welcome in the next crew of potential Huskers. So, Greg, your take on just what it means. You look around the country and some spring games and some fan bases and some regions of the country are more open than others, which is awesome. Safety is also important. What's the fan base, what's Husker Nation going to do today, in your opinion, for these kids who've chosen to come on their own dime?
Yeah, I think it's a big deal for recruits to be able to see in person kind of the passion that Nebraska fans have for the football team, even through a pandemic, through some down times. The first opportunity that fans really get to be back in Memorial Stadium and see the football team since, November of 2019. I think that it'll be a big deal to have fans in there because, recruits have been hearing about how passionate the fan base is, and they know that they kind of, respond to them a lot on Twitter and all of that. But to see it in person and to be able to be out there sitting with them actually might provide a little bit of extra fun for that too. So it'll just be a nice deal for them to see for themselves in person.
Greg Smith with us from HailVarsity.com and magazine, talking recruiting. Hey, we were talking in the opening segment, Greg. I just want to go back real quick to the Wandale Robinson recruitment, and tell me if I have the story somewhat correct here. From what I recall, what happened there was Frost and the staff were sort of in, and they had a good chance. Something soured during one of their encounters. Frost essentially walks away. And then over time, Troy Walters and some of the other members on the staff convince Frost to kind of patch things up. And then ultimately they land the commitment. But early on, Frost's take was, I don't think this is a good fit. I don't like the situation. But then was convinced to go after him anyways. Is that sort of how it went down, or what am I missing there?
That is sort of how it went down, probably 75%. The only thing that is probably missing is that not only was Nebraska in good shape, they were the leader and had a silent commitment from him early on. So that to see things kind of fall apart and then for him to pick Kentucky in that high school ceremony really turned Scott Frost off. but you don't really completely back out on top 100 recruits, especially when you don't get a ton of them to begin with. It'd be one thing if Nebraska was Alabama, like they're not, so you don't just like turn those guys away. So yes, Ryan Held and Troy Walters definitely helped to bring that thing home and to keep Scott Frost in it, and also kept recruiting him throughout the time that he was committed to Kentucky, and then ultimately flipped to Nebraska because that's where initially he always wanted to be.
Now, I bring that up only because we were just talking about how, in the end, it seems like Frost's instincts there were actually correct. Like, yes, you definitely want to acquire talent like Wandale, there's no question, but at what cost, right? And when Wandale transfers, all the PR hits that you take for that, the locker room kind of hits that you take for that. And I'm bringing that up because you also have all those Florida departures, and Frost saying during the recruiting press conferences, there needs to be a renewed emphasis on players that legitimately want to be here, and they're going to take less. It seemed like they were saying they're going to take a few less risks. Is that your read on it too?
Kind of. My read on that is that they need to do a better job making sure that guys are going to want to come in and get acclimated to Lincoln. And that's not to say that Lincoln's an awful place, because obviously it's not. We all live here. But it's also very different than, say, Miami. But you also, and this is something that I believe it was Quentin Newsom. It was either Quentin Newsom or Miles Farmer. I think Newsom said when we talked to him during the spring about those Florida guys and how, they kind of stuck to themselves. Like, he wanted to come in and kind of be a social butterfly and meet people and kind of expand his horizons. You have to want to meet the program and the state and the city halfway as well and put that effort in. So it does come down to, you just have to do a better job of vetting guys to make sure that they're going to try and acclimate to their new surroundings, because if they're not, then you don't really have a great chance. And then you throw on top of that a pandemic and guys being even more homesick, and that's how you get where you were with the Florida situation that they had from the 2020 class.
Greg Smith with us here, Hail Varsity Weekend Edition, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Mark Kraynak. We have an Iron Horse sighting. Greg Smith on the horn with us here, and he'll be all over the recruits that are here on their own dime. Greg, let's start off with MJ, the talented quarterback, MJ Morris from Atlanta, the quarterback for 2022. And, what's your gut tell you here? Is he already pretty deep in the Big Red pool, or is there still some work to do for Nebraska? We'll zoom out here on some other prospects, but Morris is the guy Nebraska's been really in hot pursuit after.
Yeah, it's probably Nebraska. It could be Nebraska's top overall target. Morris could be for the 2022 class. He's definitely the top 2022 guy that's going to be here this weekend. I actually was texting with him this morning. He was getting on his flight from Atlanta to get out here, so he is en route. He's on his way. But he's definitely a guy that has a high interest in Nebraska, and things have kind of shifted here over the last couple of weeks, where you asked me about that a couple of weeks ago, and I told you Florida State was really looming and pushing hard, and it seems like Florida State backed off or was not willing to wait for him to really make his decision. They took another elite-level quarterback, and they now have 2 quarterbacks in their class committed right now. So that basically takes Florida State out. So right now, Nebraska is in a very good position, considering it was only Florida State and Nebraska that he was going to visit this spring. So Nebraska has a really good opportunity today to hopefully make an impression on him and to really solidify him taking that first weekend June official visit. And I think that that's the next step. So maybe you can go ahead and lock this thing down this summer. I think Nebraska's in good position right now.
Is it too early, just based on the realities of the transfer portal, to know right at this moment the key areas of need for Nebraska, or do they have to wait on that for the transfer portal to kind of take its course post-spring to really zero in on their areas of need?
I think that you have to wait a little bit, because it's always a moving target, and it's not just the transfer portal right now. It's also trying to figure out like what the numbers are going to be for the 2022 class. Because there's a lot of thought out there that classes around the country will be smaller. Then you have, because of the portal, you also might want to save an additional spot or two to make sure that you have room after the 2022 class to be able to take a guy. But then also what we're going to see today, right, or the culmination of what we'll see today in the spring game, you needed the spring to be able to evaluate any number of positions on Nebraska's roster to see if you need to bump up positions or take them down. Like, for example, if you feel really good about wide receiver moving forward, because there's still a lot of young wide receivers in the program after this spring, then you might say, okay, we probably only take one more wide receiver. On the flip side of that, running back, even though there are a lot of young guys, if you're not impressed, if you're Nebraska staff with what's going on, maybe you need to take 2 running backs in this class instead of the one that it kind of felt like coming into the class. So that's always kind of a moving target depending on where we are kind of in the cycle, or at least heading into the summer.
Few minutes, Greg Smith with us. He'll be at the stadium today. He'll be talking to many of the 2022, 2023 prospects that are here on their own dime. We are in the Railyard. Chris Schmidt, Mark Kraynak, Hail Varsity Weekend. The rum connoisseur, Damon Barr, back at our ESPN Lincoln studios. We're here till noon. And Greg Smith giving us a rundown. Greg, let's talk here about some of the other prospects. Let's do a roll call. Who's in? Who decided not to make the trip? Give me some names you're really intrigued by. Skill guys, linemen, linebackers. Give us the full buffet here, as you've been tracking this thing for a while.
Yeah, I think that one of the big storylines for this weekend is wide receiver, and we're just kind of talking about Nebraska having one wide receiver in the class already, and Victor Jones Jr. probably means there's only one more spot for a wide receiver. Interestingly enough, there are 3 wide receivers that are making their way to Nebraska's campus for the 2022 class. One that they've liked for a long time, 6'4", 6'5", 210 wide receiver out of Kansas City, Quentin Conley. He'll be in town. I actually heard from him this morning. He's on his way as well. Grant Page out of Colorado, he will be in town. And then Landon Sampson, a wide receiver out of Texas, who's kind of on the rise, more of a slot guy. He'll also be in town. So it'll be a good time for Nebraska to showcase the passing game if they hopefully choose to do that, I think people are eager to see that. Chris McClellan is a guy that has really blown up over the last year. He's a defensive tackle that really has good position flexibility like Tony Tuioti likes, can play all 3 positions on that line out of Oklahoma. He'll be in town. And I think another big storyline, too, this weekend is a pair of teammates that are going to be in town out of Hays, Kansas. Gavin Myers is an inside linebacker that Nebraska has been on for a long time, and Nebraska is high on his list. I think Nebraska and Kansas State are the 2 schools out in front there. And then his teammate, Jaron Kraynak, has been a guy that's on the rise as much as any guy kind of in the region. I think he just got bumped up to a 4-star. He can play either side of the football in college. I think Nebraska has a good chance to really showcase everything that they have today to him, so that they can possibly lock in kind of a dual official visit early in June as well. And I think that it doesn't work out a lot with these package deals and teammates that want to play together, but this might be the exception to the rule if Nebraska can pull it off.
Yeah, and that dude is a burner, by the way. Kraynak.
Good-looking ball player.
What, 10-3, something like that?
Well, he's Kraynak speed.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Greg, forgive the ignorance here. They can't talk to these people. They can't wave to them. But you always read recruits saying, oh, yeah, I message with, coach fill in the blank all the time. Or, yeah, I talk to him on the phone or on FaceTime. Can they still do that?
Digital?
No. So not while the kid is on campus. No. So when the kid leaves campus, they can. And kind of the template for this is what's been happening over the last year or so with these self-guided visits. So you have any number of guys that have done that, guys that were in the 2021 class. And as soon as they get on campus, they can no longer have contact. Now, they could say talk to Ryan Held before they get here, FaceTime with him, text him. He can give them suggestions on things to go eat or things to look at on campus. But as soon as they step foot on campus, no longer can they have contact. And then once they get off campus, they can resume that communication.
Okay, and it's literally campus confines. So, as soon as they walk across 10th Street or at Buzzard Billy's, then it's all good.
I mean, yeah, when you think about it that way, yes. As soon as they cross that street, they can be there. I was going to say, as soon as they go over to Amigos, but is that even not there anymore because I'm old and that's what there when I was in college.
Yeah, I think it might be.
Amigos is resting in peace on campus no longer, but it was a great idea for a little salsa bar or some ranch with your crisp meat about 2 a.m. Greg Smith is with us. It is windy, so yay. But the Railyard's full. We want to see you down here. Hail Varsity Radio weekend is going on. Greg, where's Nebraska at when it comes to some defensive linemen? And talk to me a little bit here about the upside of Reese Mooney, high-level prospect. And I know that Nebraska likes him. He loves Nebraska. His dad really loves Nebraska. But he's also got the tour of tours this summer where he's going to check out USC. He's going to check out Miami. Nebraska is in a good spot now. But how much work is there to continue to be in that top of mind with Mooney, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, first with the defensive line recruiting, I think defensive line is one of the lower priorities for Nebraska this recruiting cycle, just because there's so many. Like, we're talking about guys that you're excited to see today. Like, people want to see Nash Hutmacher. They want to see Masai Newsome, who's been kind of marinating in the program, in the strength and conditioning program here for a couple of years, and you hear good things about him behind the scenes. Ruquan Buckley, as a true freshman, has impressed. So there's a lot of young defensive linemen that they've got to sort through before they continue bringing guys in. They probably will only take one or two there. But the bigger thing here, Jazz, the quarterback with Reese Mooney for 2023, he's already here. He took in a visit to check out a baseball game last night. If you remember, he was actually committed to Houston to play baseball, and he's a guy that's got interest to play both sports in college. He seems to be good enough to do it. But Nebraska's in a good spot with him. It is always a good sign when a guy is not committed to your school, but they're bringing in other recruits on their visit. And he's bringing a 5-star wide receiver for his class in Shelton Sampson. They both are here right now, and I think a baseball prospect came along with them as well. But Mooney is a really good prospect. He's got a lot of offers and options, but Nebraska does have the tie with his family, all being Husker fans, with him growing up, kind of coming to Husker games as well. They're in a good spot there. And it wouldn't shock me if they have their 2023 quarterback before 2022, but we'll kind of see how that shakes out. I really like where they're at with Reese Mooney right now.
Hey, Greg, if you look at what's going to trot out today as likely the first offense, and I know there's a couple positions that are still sort of up for grabs, but we know a bulk of who's going to start. When you look at that first unit compared to their recruiting rankings, is it me or does it seem like, because of attrition or other reasons, Nebraska hasn't often trotted out a starting unit that honestly ranked fairly high recruiting-wise? Like, go across the line, look at receiver, look at quarterback, look at the tailback options. It's a fairly highly regarded first unit that's trotting out there today, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say that. I think that, and that's a good thing. You want those evaluations to be correct, but it does seem like it. If you just think through the offensive line, guys like Jurgens, Benhart, Corcoran were all highly regarded, and they're now playing now. You always are going to have a guy, it feels like, at Nebraska, like an Ethan Piper, that makes a good move. The running back, which is still wide open, still has a ton of 4-star potential or 4-star players from high school in there. Wide receiver, too, even though that's a kind of a mixed bag just because of the attrition at the position. And then you go along the defense, and that's starting to happen there, too. So, yeah, I would say that you're starting to get to the point where that's happening, and then you're still always going to have those guys that were lower rated or even walk-ons that try to make those pushes. And I do think that that's a really good sign, and it's a good point about what's happening with Nebraska's depth chart.
Greg Smith with us on Hail Varsity Radio Weekend Edition. Greg, we'll let you get to the stadium. Thanks for your rundown. We look forward to your reporting and insight and connection with the recruits. Always appreciate you. Follow Greg on Twitter at Greg Smith HV. We're down here in the Railyard. Greg, take care, buddy.
Hey, have a good weekend, guys. Enjoy the game.
All right.
Thanks,
we'll check in with Greg post-spring game. I think him and I are going to do a quick little message from the field, so that'll be cool. The Iron Horse is in the on-deck circle. Gary Sharp with us here weekend edition.
I see it's jort season for some guys. I see we've come back.
Oh yes, the jean shorts.
Yeah, and specifically like they look like former actual jeans that were literally cut off.
Okay.
Kind of snug.
Well, yeah.
A little snug for my liking.
And
are those jegging jorts?
I don't know.
I don't know.
See, and I appreciate your attention to detail.
Yeah.
Because I've been looking at the other jean shorts that are in the crowd, and there are, there's several hundred candidates for Miss Nebraska here in the Railyard today. And they are wearing their jean shorts. They're not quite the daisies.
No.
But
back in my day. You saw bottom cheek.
You did, and it just depends on if you wanted to see that bottom cheek or not.
Yeah,
there were some yeses, there were some no's.
Yeah.
But what we need to do for next spring game is have you and I rock some jorts with some cowboy boots, and we'll do the Christian Peter weight room throwback where we've got jean shorts, cowboy boots, and spaghetti strap tank tops.
That sounds good.
Because clearly our physiques could fill those out.
I'm working on it, bro. I lifted twice this week. Look out.
I did once, and I was upset I did it. So
you can tell, dude. You look swole, dude. You can tell, bro.
I'm trying to not be a fat pile of blubber.
Yeah, you can tell, bro. Seriously, bro. Nice traps, bro. Yeah.
Romansky. So a couple minutes here before we say goodbye for hour one. That Mooney kid, I really like his film. I know he's 2023, but he's so mobile and he can throw. The Torres kid out of Texas was supposed to be here. I don't think he ended up coming. And he's had some more offers kind of come his way, even though Nebraska was pretty much first in line. I think he's near Lubbock or San Antonio, if memory serves. I'm 6'6" quarterback.
I see. I'm a little behind on my recruiting cycle for this year.
That's fine.
In terms of watching, I just know that Nebraska's out of the picture with a lot of Nebraska guys. There is so much of a wait and see. I think it extends, like the fans have reached that point. I think recruits to some degree have too. Well, where it's like, let's see where this thing goes. Like I know they went undefeated in 2017 at UCF, and I know they got good facilities and fan support. But like, are they going to win? Are they going to put guys in the league? How many guys have been drafted since 20 what? Is it 17? How many Nebraska? Like 4?
Not as many as you'd like.
I would like to. I'm gonna use the internet on my phone, and I'm going to research that. How many draft picks since, I don't know, when did it all start falling apart for us, Chris? When it comes to the draft. When did that happen?
It's been different. Even during the Pelini years, who had a lot of NFL guys. I mean, you look at Rex, you look at Anunua.
There was a lot.
Those were 6th-round guys, but you had lines of scrimmage guys, make their way in. Now, recent history, you've got Amir and Vincent and Randy all went 2nd, 3rd round in that 2015 draft. All right. Searles and Qualley and Spencer, one of those 3 were drafted, one still in the league. Both Searles and Spencer are retired. And then you have the Malik Collins draft pick. He was a 2nd or 3rd round guy in Dallas.
Okay, so trivia question here.
Sure.
Since 2017, so that would be 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and then this year, how many draft picks does Nebraska have since 2017?
3?
4.
Okay.
Nate Gary in 2017, the lone pick. Tanner Lee, 2018.
6th round, right? 6th or 7th.
And then last year, Khalil and Carlos.
Yes.
That's it. Alabama achieved that by like pick 15 this year.
Well, that's Alabama.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying. Come on.
Nebraska's working on it. Mark Kraynak, Chris Schmidt, we are down here in the Railyard. It is windy, if you can't tell, but it's sunny and beautiful. Hour 2 coming up ahead of the spring game in the Railyard. Weekend edition, Hail Varsity Radio, the Iron Horse, Gary Sharp shortly. Hour 2 coming up. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
The Hail Varsity Radio Saturday morning show, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Strap yourselves in. Here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt.
Y'all don't even know he was a virgin until he's 28, and now, roll tide.
And Mark Kraynak.
Time has come for someone to put his foot down. And that foot is me.
Steady improvement is how I would characterize it. You know, Matt Maska continues to do good things. Logan Smothers just every single day got better, and his control and command of the offense is improving and getting to a point where I feel great with him. Harburg is really talented kid that can run and throw. He was swimming a little bit at first, but he's hungry to learn, and he's really improved throughout spring. So Mario's done a good job with that room, and those guys have made a lot of progress. Still have a ways to go, but have made a ton of progress this spring.
That is the head man, Scott Frost. Welcome to it, our 2 weekend edition. Hail Varsity Radio. We're in the Railyard. There is beautiful people, beautiful sunshine.
There's also ugly people, but we're not judging.
No, there's not that many, to be honest with you. And it is just fun to be out, getting ready for the spring game here.
A few average people.
Yes,
it's the whole spectrum.
Two of them are talking to you.
Yeah.
I mean, look, there's somebody who's pulling off the red tank top and the jean shorts with a tattoo on her thigh.
No, you want her to pull them off. She will not do that.
I'm saying she's wearing it. And she's wearing it.
Gotcha. I was going to say, Chris, that's not allowed. Where do you think we are? Right? We got family values here in Nebraska.
We met some of our
we will kill your kids.
Hurrdat podcast buddies, the Redcasters.
Yeah, that was good to meet those guys.
Honky and crew are on here.
Yeah.
Vic from Denver's firing up a heater. Love him. He got our Christmas bonus, which was so nice of him.
Do you know what that is yet?
I'm going to open it on air here in a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, the Iron Horse, Gary Sharp, shortly.
It's a wrapped bottle.
Depending on what is permitted time-wise. Had a great chat with Rick Kaczynski this week, and Kaz kind of breaks down the weight, the importance of the spring game, and just kind of sifting through through a coach's eyes, what you see during the spring to get you ready for the summer and then into the fall. Can find us on Twitter at Schmidt_radio, at Mark Skurs, at Hail Varsity, at ESPN Lincoln. So, Kraynak, let's get in. We hammered the recruiting quite a bit. We talked about the question of what Frost is trying to fix and what's so big about the spring game and the spring season. Well, one thing that Nebraska's had to deal with is quarterback injuries. And you've got Adrian Martinez that looks incredible, and you want him to get through a full season unharmed. But the honesty is he's missed a game or two every year. Yeah. And even if he's played through pain and he's been a warrior that way, he's not been right, and it's affected his production. It just has.
Sure.
And what you have now is you have no backup. You have no McCaffrey. And you have young guys that you feel good about with Harburg and his tools. And then we're all kind of waiting to see, what step does Logan Smothers make here? He's fast. He can run. Yeah. Where's he at as a thrower? And you heard Coach Frost touch on Matt Masker as well. You heard Coach Frost say, look, he's been happy with the progress. And that's really it. You need a quarterback or 2 or 3 or 8 to come to your room, get better, improve, and not transfer where they don't win a job if they're not ready. But that's not the way college football is right now. But Nebraska seems to have some good guys in that quarterback room that are continuing to grow and get better. It'll be fun to watch those backups do their thing today.
Yeah, you just want to see them in person. They haven't gotten to yet, which is crazy. If you think about how long we have known the name Logan Smothers, yet to this day you have not seen him in a competitive environment at all. And same with Harburg, who, by all accounts, it seems like he has exceeded expectations from what people were expecting. I mean, you offer him a scholarship for a reason. He's obviously a talented kid. but I think he's come in and acclimated much quicker than they could have expected when he's coming from class, L or whatever class he's playing in at Kearney Catholic. I don't mean that to all the good folks out at Kearney, but you know what I mean. It's a big jump. And for him to just show up here and already acquit himself and already be in the conversation as a backup is interesting. You do wonder how it's going to affect, because you're right, man. Look, in a typical year when you have a somewhat established or competent or experienced backup, when your starting quarterback goes down, you can expect to take, about a 20% hit on your offensive production, essentially. When it's a completely unproven, you have no idea, somebody who's never played at all, I mean, that could be up to like a 75% hit on your offensive production. I mean, it could completely crater what you do offensively. So knowing that and knowing Adrian Martinez's history of injuries, which I don't think is that abnormal, honestly. I think I wouldn't call him injury-ridden. I'd just say that, you use the guy a lot, and he's got
as many times as the guy carries the football, he's going to get hurt.
That's my point, is what will that do, knowing that no matter what, you've got an unproven guy behind you this year. Like,
it better make your offensive line bulletproof, and it better make your run game what you lean on.
See, and so does that limit how many times they're going to run Adrian this year?
Well, but he's looking as lean as he's looked. He's looking as fast as he's ever looked, and he is so elusive right now. Again, grain of salt, forgive me, what we saw in the open practice, but he looks like a guy that can take off and he looks freshman year. Remember the juke he made on Colorado off an edge blitz? Yeah. Went down the sideline and scored.
Look, I know
that's what he looks like again. He looks faster than that.
I think it's funny how people almost have to apologize for complimenting him, because look, dude, he has reeled off. If you're to go to just look at Adrian Martinez running highlights on YouTube,
it's awesome.
There's a ton of them. The dude can run. Like, yes, the record has not been great. Yes, the fumbles have been way too many. But yes, the dude has consistently made people miss in the open field. He has consistently got chunk plays on the ground. Super talented runner. But if you have such unproven folks behind him, can you roll the dice in such an important year? It's such an important year for so many reasons.
You're going to do what you got to do to win. And if that means running him because you don't have a running back ready,
or you got six of them.
I know. You need. So the moral of this story is you got to run Adrian. That's a real big commentary on your running back room and development. 2, you better find a way to get a couple of guys ready so they can take some of that running attempt weight off of your quarterback, sprinkle him in versus him being the main weapon and the most trustworthy weapon. There's too many good running backs here not to use. Ronald Tompkins will be fun to watch today. Gabe Irvin's done a nice job coming in early and getting ready. We'll see where Stepp is at health-wise. And you got Morrison that has all the tools to be incredible, but they all need to be ready for Saturday. Part of that is completing spring and being trusted to know what they're doing.
When you look at a scholarship distribution chart, you would not expect to see 6 running backs. You just would not. That's a lot that Nebraska has right now. And you wonder if it's actually intentional to just raise the competition level in that room to begin with, knowing you're not going to keep all 6. After spring, 2 of those guys are gone. I'll call my shot here. Big, bold prediction, I know. Oh, my God, how did you come up with that, Nostradamus? But seriously, after spring settles, and maybe it'll even go longer, because with guys injured and all that, maybe it's not going to be clear. But I would expect a couple guys to hit the road after spring, and you to go into the fall with probably 4 scholarship guys. So, and look, talked about it with Greg. Even though there's nobody that's like the man yet, these were coveted guys. Sevion Morrison was coveted, offered by a lot of programs. Marvin Scott, to a lesser degree, but also coveted.
Scott can be a good downhill guy. Just got to get him. Yeah. That's the other thing. You got to get these guys lathered up, and these guys in turn need to know all they're asked to do. And I think that's your mesh point that isn't hitting right now, is trust, comfort, and knowledge. You got the ability. but it's not. You can't check every box right now, so therefore you're not going to put him in.
Tompkins was, before his injuries, one of the top guys in Georgia.
He looks
Gabe
good.
Irvin, one of the top guys in Georgia. It's not devoid of talent.
No.
That's my point. Ramir Johnson, we haven't even mentioned, and he was one of the fastest guys in the country.
He ain't going today.
Yeah. Well, I think the profile has changed, too, in what they're recruiting.
You need bigger backs.
Across the board, I think the profile has changed. I think when Frost got here, I think he was literally thinking to copy-paste of what he did at UCF and Oregon. Get the speed here, get the speed here, get the speed. Hasn't worked out. And I think they've changed course on that. Because you have brought in some fast guys, they don't stay. I don't know why, but they don't. They leave. They bounce. Right? So he's changed course. And generally they're recruiting bigger. They're recruiting more powerful type players, heavier players, taller players. So I think, you combine all of that stuff that he inherited and kind of some of the natural kind of learn-on-the-job things that you have to go through when you're inheriting a program. You know what you want it to look like. Anybody that watched the 0-1 Notre Dame-Nebraska game, that's what you want it to look like when it replayed on BTN. You want it to look like that. You want it to look like 11 guys each side of the ball just colliding constantly and loving it and playing good special teams and being precise with your craft.
Heisman quarterback helps.
It does, but he didn't have an incredible game that game. He had a good
Didn't have to.
Well, I know.
He killed him on play action and had a couple of 40-yard options.
DeJuan Gross had one called back, but I'm just saying you had that culture, that word, it's relevant. It does matter. That's what he's trying to get it to. You've had to trim some fat to get there. Some me guys have had to hit the road. Some guys that weren't necessarily fit. And then schematically and recruiting profile-wise, after facing the Big Ten for a bit, you've realized we got to get a lot bigger. A lot bigger. And they've recruited to that, too. There's a reason why you gave him 6 years. Sure. There's a reason why you gave him 6 years. But this has to be a year where you start to see tangible, measurable, upward mobility progress, right? You have to see that this year.
Let's talk a little bit about the Moose and his comments this week on the Moose radio show, also to the World Herald, about, realistic number being 8 or 9 wins. Yeah. I love it. I don't know that it's realistic, but you've got Bill Moose wanting to sell some tickets. You got Bill Moose promoting a little bit. You got Bill Moose kind of sticking his chest out, puffing it out a bit. Hey, I can see 8 or 9 wins on that schedule now that Lance is down in Lawrence. I feel way better about Buffalo. But the schedule isn't easy. Bielema, Nebraska's had a hell of a time with Illinois when Levy was there, beard or no beard. And the other part of things that's a reality is you're a coin flip against Northwestern. You're a coin flip against Minnesota. That's being nice. And you're a coin flip against Purdue. You have been over 3 years. So those need to happen for you to get to that bowl eligibility number that's first and foremost important. Secondly, can you stack and steal a couple? And I think Moose and Frost are on the same page. They're right on saying, yeah, it's time to start doing it. And it gets back to that initial conversation we had about expectations in year 4 and the Nebraska Fishbowl life. Listen, they've gone about it the right way with strength and conditioning and getting better on the lines of scrimmage. Right. Now that periphery, i.e. the run game and the wideouts, you gotten physical, now get skilled, and all of that leads into this win discussion, 7 or 8, and I think they can sure do it. But besides the talent, besides the depth, besides the physicality, are they going to be better coaches on Saturday? Are you going to get better game management on top of the don't jump off sides on 3rd and 5?
You will. And what is...
I need to see that happen before I'm like, sure, why not? Yeah, they'll be okay.
Well, and what is the offensive scheme? What has it evolved into? Because last year looked like a scheme and a staff that really didn't quite know. Either that or they were so limited on what they could do that it became, the quarterback sort of just run with it when you can. offense. That's what it always devolved into. Nebraska's script out of the gate always looks great. With very few exceptions, the first scripted drive is clinical, and it looks amazing. But then as the game wears on,
what do you adjust
very
to?
Unimaginative and very non-productive, for the most part.
How many third quarters have been goose eggs?
Right.
How many second halves have been struggles offensively?
So, they looked legitimately lost last year. It looked like a lost offense that didn't quite know what it wanted to be.
It was a lost year, too. Yeah. I'm going to give them that benefit of the doubt.
So, same with everyone else, though. I'm just saying it did not have a solid identity. It didn't have... Oh, actually, it did. It's just that identity is not good. The identity actually was broken play, quarterback take off. Like that was the identity. It wasn't intentional, but that's exactly what ended up happening. And you didn't have enough consistency through the air. You didn't have anybody with any regularity solidify the tailback spot. So part of that could have just been personnel, to where they were limited just. Like they just literally did not have many options, and so they had to go with, whatever they could to scratch out a yard or two. You hope that this year it has evolved into something that's more intentional, more designed, and has the players to actually do it, which meshes with the coach's overall philosophy and the skill sets that you have on the team.
I'm excited for the offensive line. You're going to have 9 guys that you feel comfortable in playing. You're going to have 5 that can go to work on that line. But I'm anxious to get some work done in that running back room, where you can zero in on 3 or 4 guys. You're comfortable with them, they're comfortable with you. But it's time to get to work. All right, you've missed on some running backs. They were talented enough to do good things for you here, but they didn't fit, they didn't get it, they didn't stay.
Yeah.
But now you can't have any more running backs. You're going to, but you can't have a mass exodus of running backs. You can't pick wrong, okay?
No.
You picked Greg Bell, didn't work. You picked Mo, couldn't hang.
Yeah.
Can you picked Step, can he get healthy?
Miles Jones,
right?
Of a tailback.
So I need Nebraska to be right with who they're giving the football to, and have them ready. Partially it's up to the kids, I get it, but it's also and I like Ryan Held. I think he's a good running backs coach. I think he's a wonderful motivator. I think he's got an eye for talent, but it needs to happen not only to save your starting quarterback, but if he gets dinged, lean on that line, find a back or two that get it and can get it done. It feels like Irvin is a kid that's mature beyond his years, comes in, puts the work in, knows the playbook, and also is excited about the weight room. That's one.
Yeah, and from a skill set point
he can do about everything.
That's the thing with him. Yeah, he's almost pro style in that way. Where his body is already sort of pro style. It just is.
And he's working on it.
Yeah, he's what? He goes 6'1", 215, something like that. So he's got
chiseled like Kraynak.
He's got. Circa some year. There was this one month that was really good.
There was this one P90X session I did where,
my God,
brother, it was all good.
I got through 3 weeks of that and I was ripped. So I think that he has probably the most complete skill set. I think Semyon Morrison is also in that mold.
He's your wow guy.
We haven't seen enough of him yet, but also just one of those guys that, like, good moves, good speed, good vision, good out of the backfield, just doesn't have holes in his game. May not have any one thing that is incredible, but, sort of like a poor man's version of an Etienne, right?
I like him.
Yeah, Etienne, but I wouldn't say there's a lot about him that wows you. What
gets
wows
it done.
you?
Speed.
What wows you is his durability and his consistency throughout the course of the game. Where the dude is always getting you plus.
Well, he's good enough to start at Clemson. That wows me.
but you know what I mean. He's not like a jaw dropper. If you think back to, I know it was a different position, but Sammy, the receiver from
Watkins.
Yeah, that dude was jaw dropping when he broke away, right?
As big as he was.
As a receiver, exactly. And so I wouldn't say Nebraska necessarily has that guy. Lawrence Phillips was a jaw dropper.
Yeah.
Amon Green, like, what? Taylor Martinez, when a freshman, like, what? Are you serious? I don't think Nebraska has that dude, but I do think they have guys that can get chunks. I think they have a lot of them, actually. You just got to find which one can actually stay healthy and which one can just grab that race and lead it all the way through, and then who's going to back them up. It's pretty much that simple.
That is Mark Kraynak, Chris Schmidt, Damon Barr, the rum connoisseur. We're out here in the Railyard Weekend Edition Hail Varsity Radio special time. You and thousands of your best friends in red down here in the Railyard. We invite you out. We are here till noon, and then it's off to the spring game for many of us. He is in the on-deck circle. He is pacing around. We're excited to bring in the Iron Horse, Gary Sharp, next. It's Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Early to rise with Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Here's Chris Schmidt and Mark Kraynak.
Back to it at Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Mark Kraynak, Damon Barr, the rum connoisseur, back at our ESPN Lincoln studios. He is here from the on-deck circle to the batter's box. We welcome in the Iron Horse.
Hi, my name's Gary.
Gary Sharp is with us.
Hi, Chris.
How are you?
Mark?
Nice to see you in person, sir.
How good is this?
So this is awesome. So we all went to school down here.
Yes.
And we all remember what the first day in Lincoln is like when it's warm.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good day.
It's a good day.
That's a really good day.
It's a good day.
And what we have here is this looks like a normal game day in Lincoln.
It really does.
I was looking for a picture. So Schmidt and I were at the first game of last season on November 14th, and it was drab, it was cold, and there was nobody around.
Yeah.
And now you walk here today, you drive into Lincoln, there's more traffic on I-80 from Omaha, and then you're here in the Railyard, and it's packed. And you would think Nebraska and Buffalo were getting ready to play. This is really nice. This is really nice. Beautiful weather. Nebraska's 0-0. It's what spring game is supposed to be like, because heck, guys, last year we had the spring game as a computer game. As a video game.
Remember that, yes.
Yeah. So now we get some somewhat real football today.
How pissed is Frank in Falls City going to be, though, when he rolls up and sees that they're not tackling in the first half? And he did not know that until he actually just sees it happen. He's like, oh, maybe they just called a penalty.
Well,
oh, my God, they're not tackling?
Well, this is a trend in spring where fewer and fewer teams are going to be tackling. But here's the situation. We come to the spring game, unless there's a quarterback battle, you come to the spring game, or at least I do, to see young guys play.
Yeah.
You want to see the young guys, and you're going to get to see that in the second half, and it's going to look like real football except for the quarterback.
Right.
So I think people will be fine. I mean, we all know, you guys have talked about it now for almost 2 hours, of individuals that people definitely want to see, and they're going to see them, but, it's the young guys that are out there. See, you also enjoy drunk people when you're outdoors like this. The first warm day in Lincoln is beautiful, my friends.
Well, because we got headsets on.
He's been breakfast beering it, number 18, giving us fist pounds.
Well,
that guy actually just walked out of Pinnacle Bank Arena. The Class A boys state final just ended to him.
We're kind of out there, and we're wearing the headsets, and so people confuse you sometimes as like some sort of official.
Well, they think we're the DJs.
Yeah.
Right, and
they're like, dude,
I will
play some Britney.
No. There are a few people that are giving tribute to Britney today, though.
You know what? It's good. A lot of these are college kids. They've had a long year going to school during a pandemic, and they didn't have a spring break. This is it for them. This is the last week. Graduation is next weekend in the stadium. So I'm okay, everybody out here partying. It's going to be fun. It'll be nice to see people back in the stands. I thought Nebraska would get closer to the 45,000, but who knows? The weather really dictates the spring game attendance. But it'll just be nice to see live football, cheerleaders, the band, and then we'll dig into it, and we will say, oh my gosh, look at blank, blank, and blank.
I hate to single people out. If you don't want to do this, I understand. But I would guess 2 running backs are gone after spring. They're going to leave. Who are the 2 that you think will leave? I have my 2.
I don't think there'll be 2. I think there will be 1. and I would be very surprised if it wasn't Ramir Johnson.
He isn't playing today, right?
I can't figure out Ramir Johnson. See, I like Ramir Johnson. I've said this on this show. Whenever he's on the field,
I got him figured out.
I like what he does, but for some reason, Monday through Thursday, he struggles. But when he is pressed into action, but the fact that he hasn't played much, and it's very mysterious on why he's not playing today, I don't know. I think it might be hard for a guy like Ramir, who didn't get a spring, to come back and battle in a pretty deep but unproven running back room. I hope not, because that was a big win for Nebraska. He was out of New Jersey. We all interviewed him. He was a great kid. He's been a great kid here. I just don't know what has gotten in his way of moving up, because I thought last year when the season started, he would be the definite number 2 behind Mills. And if you remember, it was actually Tompkins that got the second carry for Nebraska at Ohio State.
I think he fits perfectly what Frost was running in 2017 at UCF. I think he does not fit what they're evolving into right now. He's a straight line speed guy. That's what he is.
Fair.
That's what he is. So
wait till you see the straight line speed of Logan Smothers.
Is that pretty legit?
It's legit, but you don't, as a quarterback, run very much in a straight line.
You got to run side to side, little moves.
Hey, there's one. Speaking of the quarterbacks, so, the question was posed to Scott on Wednesday about, oh my gosh, we're in a wind tunnel here.
Yeah, we really are.
Save us.
Gotcha.
We actually, for people that don't know, we started this interview in the Railyard, and now we are over in the Haymarket District. This is what I think, and I'm very curious to watch it today. So, everybody has been speculating. You only have 4 quarterbacks that are here in spring camp. What's going to happen when you get to the fall? What are you going to look in the transfer portal? For what Frost said, and I hate backing yourself into a corner. I think you should always be looking to upgrade your roster. I think that in the 2 weeks since we saw the open practice, something has happened with the other 3 quarterbacks, not named Martinez, that they feel comfortable enough that they've developed that they're okay going into the offseason with those 4 guys. So I'm waiting to see the 3 besides Martinez, what they play like today before fans, where there's a little bit of pressure and the defense will dial it up on them.
I like the stage today, second half. You're going to get a chance to go perform if you're one of those quarterbacks. I also think if I'm a quarterback and I hear my coach say, it's not a high priority for us right now to go to the portal and go quarterback shopping, that makes me feel better if I'm Logan Smothers, who didn't get a spring last year, was dinged when he came in as an early enrollee. I will put the work in. I will get better for you. Don't give up on me yet. And then Harburg, he's got to get it down between the ears as far as the playbook, but from a tool standpoint, the physical tools, he looks great. I mean, wow. Yeah. So you have both those along with Masker. I think the quarterback room recognized that, hey, they're going to keep working on us. We'll put the work in here during the summer. Let's see if we can actually get developed here as a quarterback. We're not the group of quarterbacks that, if I don't win the starting job, I'm going to bounce. But they're going to stick and stay.
I also think a part of the quarterback discussion, we all talk about backup quarterbacks. That's what we do at Nebraska. We got to start talking about the main guy. It would be good for him. And, he's had a quiet spring. He's only talked once to the media. We know that it's a make or break, he said, for himself or the program. I think it's important for him today to look good in what the situations they put him in. And you know what? He's had a good spring, but I need great out of Adrian, because it's got to be a weird feeling for him today. This is the 3rd day of the NFL draft. Nebraska may have Hymas go off the board. They should have Hymas go off the board. But you remember, this was supposed to be Adrian Martinez's draft.
Yeah.
It's not. He's still in school. He could still have another year. I think we all know his mindset, but I think it would be good for him, for the fan base, everybody to see him perform well today, look crisp, throw the ball well, throw the ball deep, be able to complete it, not turn it over. And that would be okay going to the offseason, because Nebraska is one of those rare schools in the Big Ten this year that does not have a quarterback question for their starter.
Yeah, and, if you look across the conference, I think there's a lot of teams that would take Adrian Martinez in a heartint.
They would.
Right? And he does have serious draft potential if he can limit his turnovers.
Mark, here's one thing I noticed right away 2 weeks ago. The thing that is different, I want to see a live game where he has to throw the ball deep under pressure. I can tell you that he is more decisive running the football. He's leaner. People will notice that today. And I think his first step that quickness is back, and he's not hesitating. So maybe that has a lot to do with this is the first time in his career he did not have to go through rehab in the offseason. He's healthy. He's leaner. Maybe that'll help his overall game. But with that said, Nebraska can't have the quarterback running 10, 15 times a game. He's about a 5 to 7 game carry a game guy. You need to let the running backs take care of that. But I think people will be impressed by how Adrian's body looks different. It looks the best it's been in 4 years here.
Gary, let's think about maybe the top unit. I know there's a few different positions to settle, but we know the bulk of it for both offense and defense this year. When you look at those units, you think back, you harken back to what those guys' recruiting rankings were. It's starting to look a little bit more on par maybe with what you see from some of the better programs, and that you have multiple 4 stars starting. It just feels like, tell me if you agree, it feels like there is less sort of settling going on at any one position, where I think in the past you sort of just had to kind of take whatever body was there and plug them in. There's much less of that right now.
I agree with you, and I will tell you a point, Mark, that backs that up. So Nebraska had a physical spring. They did a lot more 11 on 11 going full contact. I know that weird that Frost just threw out the number of 4. Now, didn't throw it out, but it was 43. I mean, that's a lot of people. But
like a third
I think this
team.
also gives you an insight. They believe in their depth, that they would all of a sudden crank it up in the spring to be physical, that they believe truly in their depth and what they have there, that I think just adds to your point that they're starting to move guys up. They're starting to churn it, where the guys that were highly recruited are in the program and they're getting an opportunity to play. I think Nebraska doesn't have 10 superstars. I think Nebraska could get to, I think they have 1 superstar in Cam Taylor-Britt. I think they could churn it out where they get 7 to 8 guys that are under consideration to be first, second, or third team Big Ten before the year is over.
Gary Sharp is with us. Mark Kraynak, Chris Schmidt, weekend edition. Hail Varsity Radio. We're in the Railyard. It is jam-packed. I see a Bill Dolman sighting. Wow, all the way from Denver. The Iron Horse, Gary Sharp, is here. So I'm interested here in the Omar Manning topic because...
Have you seen his calves, Gary? My God.
We were both there.
My God.
Do we take a picture for Kraynak, yes or no, at the open spring game?
Jeez.
And we didn't, thankfully, but I hope he's a guy, Sharpie, that can get it handled.
I'm going to sell his calves as an NFT.
Monday through Friday, because Saturday he can do some things.
Okay, so here's the situation. He's not one of your top 3 wide receivers right now. I think it's Martin, I think it's Torrey, and I think it's Betts.
Which, that's pretty good.
I'm good with that. But Omar Manning, Nebraska needs Omar Manning to be good. That's the wild card is, what is he like Monday through Thursday that he ends up on the field? I think there's a great sign here is that he has been available this spring. He wasn't available last fall. That does you no good. You need a guy that's available. He's been available this spring, and I think he's grown. I still have questions about when you get into live game stuff, because today he's going to wow people. He loves to play to the crowd, and
he likes the camera.
He's physically impressive. But we need more than that out of that position when you recruit a guy like that. It would bode well for Nebraska if Omar Manning is definitely inside of your top 6 wide receivers when the season rolls around. And if he's able to crack that top 3, I mean, that's playing with house money. I'll be curious to see as there is more development by him, and he actually plays a couple of games, what he does and how Big Ten teams defend him. Will they be physical? That's my thing. I know he's an incredible Hulk. I wonder if he can get separation, good separation, not just because he's big, but he's going to be going against some good cornerbacks. But I think Nebraska has a victory with him because he's been available, and he wasn't available in the spring or in the last fall.
When Nico Collins came off the board, that's immediately who I'm like, that's Omar Manning. Yeah. That's exactly who he is physically, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, as long as he's got his stuff together.
He's got to learn one. I watched him a lot the other 2 weeks ago. He's got to learn to use his physicality. I mean, he knows that he's big and he's strong, but he has to learn how to use that when you're playing against a cornerback. Instead of just trying to blow by somebody or just try and ward somebody off, because you know what? They're on scholarship too. They're going to play you a certain way. That's the next step in his learning and how he gets to that point.
Yeah. but physically he just looks so different than everybody else.
And then we've talked about this. People will notice when they run on the field today, Nebraska looks different. It's taken them 4 years, but they look like a Big Ten team. He doesn't look like anybody else that's currently in the program.
Sharpie, what'd you make of the Moose? Talking about 8 or 9 wins. I don't think that was a surprise to Frost as far as being in that discussion, in that contention for the West. I mean, that's what everybody with Nebraska football wants. But to put a number on it, did it make you kind of step back, or did you kind of just quietly shake your head yes?
I think there's a couple of things here. I think Moose wants to see something happen. He's running out of time. I think he's going to retire at the end of 2022. And he wants this football program to turn the corner. He's also a rah-rah guy. He's a big salesman. So you ask him the question, he's getting bigger and better this year, going from the 5 to 6 to the 8 to 9. I think you have to have follow-up questions on exactly why he thinks that way. We used to debate around here about the quality of 9 wins or the quality of 4 losses. Yeah. I mean, this team to me, when I first put eyeballs on them, they're 6-6. That's a bowl game. Okay, that's bare minimum this year. Yeah. Could some things break right where they win more than that? Certainly. But I think if Moose says it's go time. But also, be aware, guys, this staff has done an incredible job. They're going to have 20 guys that are going to be sitting in the stands. They got 20 high-profile recruits to come sit in the stands. The next 6 weeks, starting yesterday with the football facility, whatever comes out of their social media or the coach's mouth, it's not for us, it's not for the media, it is for recruiting for the next 6 to 8 weeks. That's what they're going on. So when you hear stuff like that, think about that. Why are they saying that? Who's it's intended for?
Makes sense. And hey, but let's look at Moose's prognostication skills. We all scoffed when he said, I hope we get to 6.
You're absolutely right. I will tell you, I think that there's more there. I think that the whole Oklahoma thing is still a rift between the head football coach and the athletic director. He's put him on notice. But I would have wanted to ask, so Bill, if Nebraska doesn't win 8 to 9, what happens?
Nothing happens, but how do they look falling short of 7, 8, 9? I don't, even if they don't get to 6.
It's a giant wild card, guys. If you're a 6-6 or you're an 8 or 9 win team, it basically comes down to the 2 same responses on why they'll go 6-6, why they won't go 6-6, why they might win 8.
Turnovers and special teams.
2 guys. No. 2 guys.
Players.
2 guys. Adrian Martinez, Scott Frost. They are the answer to both of those questions.
Fair. Special teams, Scott Frost. Turnovers, Adrian Martinez.
Yep. Sharpie, let's sneak in a little baseball while we got you before we say goodbye. And,
no, we're staying here all day. All these people are staying here.
I know they are. We got to get to the stadium. Okay, wake-up call. Wow, Rutgers, your takeaway last night, 9-4, didn't go wrong.
But my takeaway is Rutgers is playing really well. They go into Michigan, win 2 of 3. They come in here last night before a great crowd, great atmosphere, and they win that game. You know what? You still got a chance to win the series, so you got to bounce back today. I think Rutgers is playing pretty well. Yeah. And they did all the right things last night. Kudos. This is more Rutgers than what Nebraska didn't do. So I think they'll be fine. But they have to have a chance to win the series, but you got to win the next 2 games.
You know, I actually love listening to Coach Bolt's press conferences when he scouts the other team.
I thought he was going to say me.
I love you, Gary.
we do appreciate you greatly. No, Will Bolt's ahead of his years. When it comes to being a head coach.
When he scouts, when he tells you, the question's always asked, what do you think about this upcoming opponent? He gets pretty damn insightful about what they're going to face, and he is dead on. Like the stuff he was saying about Michigan State a week ago is exactly why they had trouble, running. They had trouble stealing. They couldn't be that aggressive because they have a good catcher. He said Rutgers. He's like, they're a lot like us. He's like, they got some team. Veteran guys that they brought in and some pretty hot freshmen and some live arms at the top end.
I was impressed by them last night. But again, you still have a chance to win the series. But this is the month. I mean, Nebraska's sitting atop the Big Ten. People are wondering, are they good enough to host a regional? You have everything in front of you. You play better teams in the conference to prove it. But today, that weird thing when the game starts and maybe the stadium isn't that full, and then all of a sudden there's a throng of people that are coming for the spring game that come to the stadium. This is the old Buck Belcher effect, where some of the largest attendance they ever had at Buck Belcher were on spring game days, and they wouldn't count it until like the fourth inning. I think, Nebraska, this is good though. Nebraska on Sunday bounced back from the loss on Saturday. Let's see what they do today. I was really impressed by Rutgers. The Big Ten is probably going to get 4 teams in the NCAA tournament, and Rutgers, if they had a conference tournament, would be one of those teams. Boy, I don't want to play.
Well, look what you got next week.
Yeah.
Right? With that pod with Rutgers again plus Indiana, like you could plummet from that.
Well, that's why it's a great opportunity to prove yourself.
Yeah.
As we look at the Big Ten, you mentioned the 4. What's the high wire act right now for Nebraska, Sharpie, with continuing to host that region? Do they got to keep winning series, or can they stub their toe at all, or how secure is number 16 right now for a region?
So here's the thing to keep in mind. Nebraska's got to stay atop the Big Ten. They have to do that. That's first and foremost. But something that could come into play. Creighton made a bid for the NCAA regional as well. There are people in Lincoln that feel, the NCAA may look at having a dry run at TD Ameritrade with the protocols, so Creighton would get a regional over Nebraska. But the way to erase that is you win the Big Ten regular season. I think Nebraska in 2 weeks will be one of the 20 that are mentioned, but then you've got the fight that is on to remain, because that last weekend, you were talking about next weekend, Mark, that last weekend, the last 2 weekends, you go Indiana and Ohio State, who are right behind in the standings, and then you have the great 3-game series here on Memorial Day weekend against Michigan.
It's huge, and you can go from first to like 6th if you don't handle business, right?
And I think they need to, they got to win the series today. They got to win the Northwestern series at home, so that they're at least in the tournament. They might not be a 2, they might be a 3, they won't be a 1. But I think you still got to do some work to ensure that you're in.
How about the job that he's done, though, right? Coming into this year,
the buy-in.
Nobody had those expectations.
He has talent. He has a lot of talent, but they have not skipped a beat, and they're
a fun team.
Last night
it had that vibe of the old days of Nebraska baseball. But the thing that people have to understand is you can't overreact to one game, because you get the next day.
It's baseball.
So Rutgers was good last night. Nebraska's got to be better today.
And you struck gold on a guy like Max Anderson, getting that level of contribution.
Yes. Yeah, they're a good team. They're fun to watch. They're fundamentally sound. Do they have enough pitching when you get to a regional to get you to a Sunday or beyond?
3 minutes and we are out. Weekend edition, Hail Varsity Radio. Spring game, and Gary Sharp with us. We are here in the Railyard, the kickoff party here with ESPN Lincoln 96.
Would you know that we're still in the middle of a pandemic if you looked at this crowd?
No. It's over. It feels back like 2019.
This is a party. We're going to play Buffalo.
There are a lot of vaccinated. Oh, speaking of that, how much did Leipold? Sorry, is it Leipold? I'm so terrible.
Lance Leipold.
Yeah, Leipold. How much is him going to Kansas help Scott Frost?
Nebraska?
Seriously, because they already lost so much that they had to replace. Buffalo did, and now they got to change.
They
staffs.
did lose a lot, but they still have more returning experience than Nebraska does. They're good. They're a good team.
Wow.
I will be curious to see how quick it moves. I would look at Matt Entz, who is the head coach at North Dakota State. You kind of followed that same path. But they're, great for Lance. I've gotten to know him. He wanted to be a Power 5 coach. He was not going to walk out the door and walk into Nebraska or any place like that. He might be the guy that turns KU football around, because that 07 season is a long way away.
Well, he doesn't have one of those weird charter flaws that it seems like Kansas has been.
So Kansas made a great hire here. They went from Flash and Les Miles to the complete opposite. They went and hired a really solid football coach that knows how to win.
Right.
I think there's
more of a Kleeman type.
There's some talent in the cupboard that Miles could always recruit. Plus, they'll go Jayhawk League. Does he retain the sitting head coach down at KU?
Emory Jones is a pretty good coach. I believe that's his name. But the thing about it is, you've got a culture of losing. That a lot of those guys that have played that program have lost a lot of football games. 115 in the last 12 years.
That's insane. 118 in the last 136 games.
Yeah, but remember how crazy 07 was. Kansas football almost played for a national championship.
I know it. But good for them that they get a guy that doesn't have those, like Charlie Weiss was a weirdo, Les Miles kind of a weirdo, obviously. Like, just get a dude that just...
Turner didn't have support, and then Turner made some mistakes as a young head coach at a Power 5.
But just get a guy that's just a pure football type that's not a weirdo. I think that'll help.
I think Lance is a hell of a coach, but is the situation too bad? Is KU too broken to succeed there? Is my question. We'll see. We are ready to say goodbye. Damon Barr, kudos to you, my friend, for jumping in. Mark Kraynak, Chris Schmidt, the Iron Horse, Gary Sharp. We appreciate you, Sharpie. Back at you Monday at 4 for Hail Varsity Radio. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy football, sunshine, and some big red feelings here. As a great time in the Railyard. Talk to you Monday.